Good afternoon and welcome to the webinar. We are delighted that our colleagues from Mount San Antonio College accepted the invitation and will be presenting on building blocks for student engagement, distance learning resources and strategies aimed to increase student engagement. Before I officially introduce the team of presenters, please allow me to address a few logistical items. I'm Will Francis, Project Director for Post-Secondary Education at the UCLA Tarjan Center. The Tarjan Center is a federally designated Center for Excellence in Developmental Disabilities and your host for today's webinar. Support for today's webinar comes from the California Community College's Chancellor's Office through a contract that enables us to provide technical assistance and training to community colleges, DSPS, who are working to provide equitable supports, services, and opportunities for students with disabilities, including intellectual disability and autism. A number of our colleagues are unable to attend today's webinar and have requested a recording of the proceedings. In order to facilitate a clean recording of the webinar, we have muted all calls. As we proceed through the presentation, our presenters would love to respond to questions that arise from or that are related to the content of the presentation. We are asking that you insert your questions into the chat feature throughout the duration of the webinar. We will address your questions and welcome you to submit as many questions as naturally arise. Since we're doing 4 segments of the presentation today, after each segment, we will allow a few minutes for questions and answers before we go on to the next segment. Again, you may ask questions at any time, and we will try to reserve time at the end of the presentation for additional questions. This may be a good time to test the chat function or feature. Please take this opportunity to enter a greeting into the chat box. I see that someone has requested closed captioning, and I have just signed that over to the person that will be taking care of that for us today. My apologies that that person was not here as we typically have them here when we begin. Thank you for using the chat feature to say hello. In our conversation today, we will be discussing how to maintain, increase, and grow the level and quality of student engagement. This is a conversation that I believe most of your institutions are having. And now, as we are thinking about coming out of the pandemic, I'm certain that these conversations are likely to continue. Our presenters will be sharing practical strategies that they have implemented to facilitate student engagement. And we believe some of these approaches may be implemented at your institutions as well to facilitate student engagement, learning, and participation. To all of our webinar participants, thank you for joining us today. And now I will provide some information about our presenters in segment number 1. Briseida Ramirez has served as a faculty member at Mount San Antonio College Impact for the last 4 years. Prior to transitioning into post-secondary education, Briseida has 12 years of experience managing in-home programs for children on the autism spectrum. She holds a master's degree in teaching with a specialization in applied behavior analysis from National University. Susan Stroebel earned a Master of Science in Special Education with an emphasis in transition to adulthood. She has more than 35 years of experience working with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities in various capacities. She's currently the resource specialist at Casa Colina Hospital and coordinates the Autism Clinic. Susan is a strong advocate and progressive thinker who helped develop and implement the Impact program at Mount SAC, where she is currently faculty. Here are Briseida and Susan.
Thank you, Will and UCLA for inviting us to come and present. we will be discussing the strategies for student engagement that have helped our program increase student engagement. One of the first things that we learned was that our students really did require an early view of what our class was going to look like, what we were going to be doing in the classroom, how to manage the classroom, what it was going to look like because it was virtual. So we have developed a front page guide that we put in our Canvas page or in our Canvas class to help guide the students. We usually start with a welcome statement that outlines exactly what the student is going to be expecting in the classroom. We do that with a welcome statement and also a video announcement, just again, introducing ourselves, our classroom, what the classroom is going to look like. We go through modules, due dates, and how the course is going to be formatted prior to actually even starting the semester with the students.
So one of the, can you hear me okay? One of the biggest barriers that we have found for our students is anxiety, the anxiety of what's coming next, the anxiety of the new technology. Just anxiety is a really big issue for a lot of our students. So we do as much as we can to reduce that anxiety. As Laura stated with the home page or the welcome page, I always put a blurb in saying, hey, if you're new, we know this is all new to you. We're going to be very patient. We're going to review all the steps of everything until you feel comfortable. So we let new students know that we're going to be very patient in the learning process with them. We always also want to help them develop the executive skills that they need to stay organized, because that also can create a lot of anxiety. So, for instance, we encourage notebooks. I always attach a calendar, a to-do list that they can print or copy. If I'm teaching new material, I always do a guided notes page, so they just have to fill in blanks, so they don't have to spend so much time focusing on their writing. They can focus more on the new teaching. In my teacher's notes, I always do the pre-learning or the linking to previous learning. So that's all done in my teacher's notes. That's just for me, but it reminds me of things I need to remind the students for. I try to open my modules the weekend before class. So for students who have anxiety about whatever's new, they can review the module so they know what to expect when they come to class. And I always set up very predictable modules, and I just gave a sample on the screen here. Teacher notes, those are for me. I always share what we're going to be learning today or what we're going to be learning about. Then we do our lesson, then their assignment, and then I always do a task list. Task list actually helps me because then I get far fewer questions and emails about, oh, I missed class, what are we supposed to do? Or did my son have an assignment this week? Or, you know, what, it just cuts down on a lot of that kind of communication because everybody has the task list to refer to. Another thing that I feel like is really important in our classes is establishing that every student has areas of strength and areas where they need support. Isn't that true of all of us? The things we're good at and the things we're not so good at. And I always model this in class. One thing I tend to forget is if I'm sharing a video, I forget to turn on the sound. So I have one student whose job it is to remind me to turn on the sound. I have another student who has this incredible visual memory, and she can look at the screen and immediately know who's missing from class. So she does our attendance. Our students just have really great strengths. I have some incredible spellers. And so if I'm writing by hand, I have people that check my spelling for me. So it's the idea of everybody has strengths, so we focus on the strengths. I model what my strengths and weaknesses are. If we have new students coming to class, I always have the students introduce themselves and talk about their strengths, so new students know who to go to for support. And then I just normalize the need for support. So the way that I create a safe place and normalize the need for support is I ask that question. Does anyone need support in how to turn in the assignment? Does anyone need support in reading the quiz? Does anyone need support? You know, and I just use that statement over and over throughout the class. And what my favorite moments in the class are when a student raises their hand and says, I need support with. It's a really great way just to normalize the fact that we all need support sometimes. We also spend quite a bit of time on Q&A, and I do repeat myself often, but I remind myself that our students learn by repetition, so it's okay to repeat instructions, repeat how to do something throughout the course. I do that often. And then I always allow students the opportunity to make up work. I try to keep my eye on the prize, which is student learning. So if someone does poorly on a quiz, we'll go over the quiz and then they have the opportunity to take it again. So I just try to always provide opportunities to make up work, with keeping in mind that the goal is for the student to learn.
Thank you. Okay, and so again, student engagement, right? We use a variety of technology or a variety of mediums to sort of send over what we're trying to teach, because again, we don't want to listen to just the professor teaching for an hour. We want to make sure that they are really accessing that information. So we use Flipgrid videos or YouTube videos. We also use Flocabulary, which helps to give the curriculum, but in a hip hop theme, right? So in a song, and we're able to really learn the facts using relevant curriculum. Also, representation is really important, and not just focused on disabilities, but also everything about, you know, human nature. So we're talking race, ethnicity, neurodiversity, all of those things help to really present and send forth the message that all of us are able to do various different things. A lot of the students are turning off their camera, right? We've been online for a year. We're seeing less and less faces. One of the beautiful things is that we're allowing for that to happen, because that's okay. Sometimes you're tired of being on Zoom for a long time. So we use reactions that, you know, let me know that you're still attending. The chat function on Zoom that lets me know that you're attending. We're not forcing students to use their camera, because just like us, we are tired of, you know, having to sit in front of the computer. So, but we're getting still a lot of participation and engagement that way. The other way as well is they're sharing their screens. So they have become pretty efficient when it comes to technology, and they love to share their screen. So if a student has a brand new student, or someone forgot how to turn something in, I will ask, who would like to share? And so a student will share, and they will go through the steps of how to get to the assignment, but they're using peers. So instead of just me teaching, the students are also teaching. And so again, just relevant curriculum. We want to stay current with what we're teaching these students.
I also forget to unmute my mic, sorry. So one of the things that we think is really important is the social part of college, right? It was important to us when we were in school, and when we were live on campus, the students would gather outside the classroom and chat for 15 or 20 minutes before class. And that their need for that hasn't changed. So one thing that I do is I schedule my office hours right before class so that I can open up the Zoom meetings early so the students have a time just to chat with each other. Frequently, I don't participate in the chats. My picture is there, but I'm off doing other things, or I can meet with a student privately, but that way I can kind of monitor their time. But just having the opportunity to hang out and talk about the weekend and talk about birthdays and talk about family and talk about vaccines, whatever the topics are, just making sure that they have time to do that. And as I shared before, another thing that I do is just share strengths. So if students are really good at something, I'll refer one student to another. Or if there are students that have similar interests that I've picked up from a discussion board, I may bring that up in the social time, that they have a shared interest or the same game that they like to play or whatever. And then always the last day of class, it's a party. You know, we do something that's related to the topic of the class, but we allow time just for them to have snacks, chat, and just visit with each other.
Okay, and breakout rooms. So this is where I've really seen our students shine. So again, they want to share their skills. So if we're having presentations, usually before the actual presentation, I send them into breakout rooms, small groups, and then they are presenting to each other. They've got the rubric that we've worked on. And they are presenting to each other. Then they give each other feedback. Hey, you know, you missed this piece, or you don't have the slides in order, whichever one it is. And the way that we do this successfully is by breaking down the assignment. So every week that we are going into class, we are turning in a piece of the presentation or the assignment. Every week, a little piece is done until the end of the semester when the presentations are due. And then again, I send them out to breakout rooms. They present to each other. They give each other feedback. And then they come back to class. And I have a designated speaker that will give us sort of the summary of what happened in that breakout room. And then I'm also traveling from breakout room to breakout room just to check in to see if anybody needs assistance. I've realized that in the breakout rooms, just like myself, if I go to any sort of training, I'm a little bit more willing to speak in a breakout room with smaller amounts of people than I am in the whole classroom. And I see a lot of engagement, a lot of conversation happening in those breakout rooms.
Another part of the social engagement really is constructive feedback, and Canvas gives us so many ways to do that. In SpeedGrader, you can leave comments by question or by assignment. Participating in the discussion boards. Typically with a discussion board, I will start the discussion. So I model what it is I'm looking for in the discussion board, and then I participate throughout the week in that discussion. I also send emails in the inbox. I send kudos to the class. If the class has done something really well, I send individual kudos to students. If they've maybe turned a corner on how they turn in the assignments, or I see growth, I'm gonna send them a little email and say, hey, great job with this. The other thing I find that helps is the video announcements. So I typically do my announcements on a video, and that gives me an opportunity not just to have written feedback, but they can see my face and see when I'm pleased, and if it's something serious that I'm not angry, but just seeing my face in those videos, I think helps them to be a little bit more relaxed about whatever's in the announcement. Like Briseida, we do peer review. I always do a front loading of what a peer review should look like. Sometimes I provide a script, like 2 things I really liked about your assignment were, one thing I didn't understand or I might consider changing is. So they have a real good understanding of what peer feedback should look like, that it should be mostly positive with a few suggestions. And then we give them the opportunity to do that, usually in the discussion boards. And again, lots of modeling. I model what it is I expect from the students.
And reaching out. So we have noticed that if we don't see a student, not come to class or not email us that they're not coming to class by the second time, then we're reaching out to the student. Hey, anything that I can help with, let me know. We want to schedule around the student's time as well. So for those that are teaching async with a sync component, or for example, myself, I teach synchronous. I want to schedule my time around them because we want to make sure that whatever is happening at home, that we're accommodating to that, because everyone's got a different home situation right now. And if there is anything that we can do in regards to the classroom, then we will schedule Zooms with the student to go over what we can do, how we can help. Also, if we can refer them out to any of our services, then that's sort of when we're doing that. We're catching it at a time where we still can reach the student. And this little blurb that I have here is something that I put in that front page when I'm just starting off the class. Basically, I'm just saying, I know that college is hard and it creates anxiety, right? So the easiest way to help with that is to follow the timeline, and the timeline of assignments with due dates, the calendar, all of that information. But sometimes life happens, so reach out, and that's okay. I can help, I can modify, I can accommodate the student, but I just want to be, again, sort of accommodating to the student. It's because I have to work from home, right? I've got kids, I've got a lot of things going on, but so do they. And so I want to be respectful of their time. And last, I don't do a very good job selling our program, but I thought a student voice would be good. So I'm going to play this video for you.
Hi, this is Erin from the Mount SAC Impact Program. I'm so thankful for all the teachers, and I make a lot of friends, and it gives me a courage of the education from the Impact Program. I just want to share everyone to come on out and check our Impact Program. I'm Erin from the Impact Program. Thank you.
And if you have any questions, here is our contact information. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, Briseida. If there are questions, please feel free to drop them in the chat feature, or you may use the Q&A feature as well. Given that we have several segments of this presentation, we'll keep moving since we see no questions at the moment. So thank you, Briseida, and thank you, Susan. I will now introduce the presenter for segment number 2. Naomi Avila has more than 15 years of experience within the California Community College system. She was hired in 2016 as full-time faculty in the School of Education, Adult Basic Education Department, and has over time been assigned to various areas within the division. She's new to working with adults with disabilities as of fall 2020. Naomi attended Mount SAC and transferred to Cal Poly Pomona, where she received her undergraduate degree in business marketing management. She then earned a master's in social work from California State University, Long Beach, and a second master's degree from Azusa Pacific University in educational counseling. Her passion has always been and is to help students achieve their academic, career, and personal goals. Here's Naomi.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for being here. I will be presenting on the programs and services that are available to our students. Before I begin, I would like to share our School of Continuation mission statement. That is that we will provide outstanding educational opportunities for students to increase literacy skills, access higher education and employment, and strengthen self-sufficiency. To maintain student engagement, Mount SAC approaches students in a holistic manner because we're aware that students have many various needs. I will just be covering a few of the programs that we offer in regards to educational and academic assistance, financial support, food insecurities, mental health and well-being, technology support, and informational sessions that we provide to our stakeholders. On a monthly basis, we do informational sessions to Parents Place, Easter Seals, regional centers, and area transitional programs. This flyer is sent out and students just need to click here and register. And then on the day of the event, the session, we send out a Zoom link where they can then join us there. And we also offer these informational sessions in Spanish as well. Many of you, I'm sure, have heard about the CARES Act, which stands for the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act, which was passed last spring when COVID really hit us hard on March 27th of 2020. This bill allotted $2.2 trillion to provide fast and direct economic aid to the American people. Of that money, approximately $14 billion was given to the Office of Education as a Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund, or HERF. So I'll be sharing with you how we handled the CARES Act funds. A flyer was created. This is a flyer that was created, and it was sent to various departments within the School of Continuing Education, or Adult Basic Education, Short-Term Vocational, English as a Second Language, or Impact Program, Vocational Reentry, and Education for Older Adults. I'll show you the form in a moment, but I just want to stress that when we were meeting with students, it was just really critical to maintain sensitivity in how we ask questions, because they're personal. So for example, these are the 6 areas: food insecurities, and this is just an example. You know, were you unable to purchase food due to not having enough funds, or were you concerned about having to pay other expenses that you wouldn't have enough money for food? Or housing, are you concerned that you weren't able to make rent or make a house payment? And sometimes students maybe had trouble having money for course materials. So are you unable to participate fully in class due to not having course materials or books or supplies for them to continue to be in class and to be successful? Technology, did they have technology or a laptop or Wi-Fi to access their classes? And healthcare, have they been able to provide healthcare for themselves or maybe a dependent? And childcare, were there any concerns about the cost of childcare or any other needs related to childcare? This is the form that was created, and this right here shows the areas I just covered. So the counselors, what we would do is get just general information, and it is critical to note that we had to put the class that they were enrolled in and the term. So if they were taking a computer class that they were taking in spring, say 2021. And then we just address these areas, and then we sign it and they signed it. This is the process that, a summary of the process that we went through. So the student contacted the counselor via email or phone call. Then we scheduled an appointment with the student and completed the forms, and the referral form I just showed you. And we also needed to get a copy of their verification enrollment. That could either be a transcript or a class receipt schedule. And then once we had those 2 documents, the forms were submitted, excuse me, to the coordinator who was handling the paperwork, which was then sent to fiscal services, and then the check was sent out. And I just want to share that we are continually assessing the needs to make CARES funds available to students. And I just wanted to share a little email a student sent me. She said, "I thank you for all your help with the CARES Act process. I received my check today. Words cannot express my deepest gratitude. Mount SAC has been such an amazing blessing in my life, not only academically, including everyone I've been in contact with, all the counselors, professors, and staff. You are truly a blessing in my life, with a grateful heart." So when we hear this from students, we just realize that we're really reaching them in their time of need. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of students are experiencing food insecurities. And one way that Mount SAC is approaching that is by collaborating with the Department of Public Social Services. Their program called CalFresh. This is a federal nutrition program where students may be eligible to receive up to $204 a month in food benefits. However, that amount can vary depending upon how many people are in the program. Because the bottom line is, we don't want students to worry, am I going to have enough money to buy my supplies, or am I going to have to buy food? We want them to know that they have a resource where they can purchase food. And directly tied to that is a new program we have at Mount SAC called Fresh Success. So aside from getting assistance from CalFresh, this program focuses on the goals of offering support such as academic and career counseling, textbooks, supplies, uniforms, test fees, parking, bus passes, and really other emergency needs. Our goal is to serve at least 50 students and possibly a few credit students from January, this just January, through September of 2021. And we're going to assess the program and how it's going and may possibly enter a new contract. One of the key things is that students must be enrolled for CalFresh. So they cannot be eligible for this program unless they're enrolled in CalFresh. Here's a flyer that we sent out again throughout our division. And right in this little box, it talks about CalFresh. We have the link because we have a program that supports students in the CalFresh and a phone number where they can contact this department and they will actually assist the student with completing a CalFresh application. And then we will go over this. The student must reside in LA County. They must be enrolled in at least one course to be eligible for this program, and they cannot be enrolled in CalWorks. So just to clarify, they can and must be enrolled in CalFresh, but they cannot be enrolled in CalWorks. And right here is the link where students would go on to submit an application for this program. And at this time, we are meeting or trying to meet with students to enroll them for summer and fall. Sorry. Apologies. Okay, one great thing I'm really proud about Mount SAC is that when COVID hit last spring, they really jumped and met students' needs in regards to technology support. We started a loaner laptop program. Students just basically needed to contact us and we were able to provide them with laptops or hotspots and Wi-Fi. And we developed a new program for the School of Continuing Education non-credit students called SOS, which stands for Student Online Support. And this was live support for our non-credit students with technology issues, how to get into their portal, issues with Canvas. You just heard our instructors in the last segment. Maybe students were having issues with their Canvas. Well, they can call here and have someone walk them through issues that they may have experienced. On our credit side of the house, we have our Access program, Credit Support Services, and this program provides counseling, instruction, and accommodations for students with disabilities and medical conditions. It's to ensure equal access to instructional programs and services. And we want to make sure that students are getting the support they need to continue in their knowledge, skills, and experience in order to persist and move forward. One nice thing about this is that they do not have to complete a credit application. Many of you may know the credit application can be a bit tedious. There's just a lot of steps to it. However, for our students, they just need to fill out a form on the website. There's a link that says apply to access and provide disability documentation. It's a simple form, and then that goes to the staff, and then the staff follows up with the student to make an appointment to meet with a counselor. I just want to share a few resources that Access provides to students. In regards to accessibility, we have Accessible Technology Center. There are note-taking apps, screen readers, screen magnification, text-to-speech, operating system solutions. And now that we are all on Zoom and doing Zoom courses, we have synchronous classes and classes with live online instructional activities. They have shared notes, audio recordings of classes, in-class scribe, and personal care attendance. I have here the website for Access, so you can get more information. As I mentioned earlier, Mount SAC looks to serve the student in a holistic manner. So we have a complete Mountie Fresh Basic Needs Resource Center, and it is comprehensive, it's campus-wide, it serves students. So we talked about food and we talked about CARES, but they also assist students with housing instability and emergency crisis situations. And I want to say that it's great that all the services we have, because we need to support students. Aside from the academics and being in classes, we need to have programs that support them in all areas of their lives. We have our monthly Mountie Fresh Food Pantry. This is for a drive-through for Mount SAC students only, which we call Mounties. We have bags that are prepared for the students to pick up. They just need to show their Mount SAC ID. And for some students who do not have vehicles, they can just walk up and grab the bags. And we practice safety standards just to make sure we're keeping those practices in place. And this flyer you see here is posted on the website, and you see the dates and times that students are able to go and pick up their food. We hear a lot about anxiety and the stress levels, and this has all have been compounded with the COVID-19. So at this time, mental health and well-being is just really critical for students, because we can have the food and we can have the classes, but if they're not in a place of that mentally, or having a place to talk and meet with someone to support them, it can be very difficult to focus on school. There's a behavior and wellness team, and the aim is to assist students who may be experiencing an emotional problem or before their behavior reaches a potentially dangerous level. And we want to educate and empower the campus community to recognize, report, and effectively address concerning dangerous and threatening behaviors. And I also have a link here at the bottom and the phone number to contact. This reference I have here is for the Department of Social Services and for the CARES Act, more information on the CARES Act. And I just want to stress, if there's anything I just want to say that would be a takeaway, because I know I covered different areas, is that there are, in our colleges and your campuses, I'm sure there's many programs and services that are offered. And like someone once shared with me years ago, we may not know all the details of every single program. However, if we know about them and we're aware of them, then we can connect the students to those resources to further assist them. So at this time, does anyone have any questions for me?
Thank you so much, Naomi. I'm not seeing any questions yet, but again, we remain open to any questions from our audience participants. Thank you so much, Naomi.
Thank you.
So I will now introduce our speakers for the third segment of the presentation today. Dr. Laura Espinosa is currently a counselor and instructor at Mount San Antonio College in the School of Continuing Education, Impact Vocational Reentry and Education for Adults program, Older Adults program. Dr. Espinosa has dedicated the last 10 years to working with adults with disabilities at Mount SAC, teaching lifelong learning courses for adults with disabilities, and at Casa Colina Hospital and Centers for Healthcare in the Research Institute, where she developed, implemented, and evaluated 2 pilot patient navigation programs: the Patient Navigation for Traumatic Brain Injury Survivors and the Patient Navigation for Spinal Cord Injury Survivors. In 1996, Dr. Espinosa obtained her Bachelor of Arts in Sociology with a minor in Social Work from California Polytechnic University, Pomona. She then continued her education at Loma Linda University and graduated in 2000 with a Master of Social Work with an emphasis in policy, program planning, and administration. In 2017, she fulfilled all requirements for the degree of Doctor of Public Administration, completing and successfully defending her dissertation. Its title was The Changing Face of Healthcare, an evaluation of a patient navigation pilot program in support of traumatic brain injury survivors. Yasmin Cardona Byrne. Over the last 3 years, Ms. Cardona Byrne has humbly served as an adjunct counselor and instructor for Mount San Antonio College's Impact Vocational Reentry and Education for Older Adults program. Ms. Cardona Byrne initiated, developed, and implemented Neighborhood Connections, a social work program at the Azusa Library from 2015 to 2018. Yasmin received an undergraduate degree in psychology from the University of La Verne and a master's degree in social work with a clinical emphasis from Azusa Pacific University. It has been Ms. Cardona Byrne's mission to provide hope and support for families who have loved ones with special needs. And now, without further ado, here are Dr. Espinosa and Yasmin.
Thank you so much, Wilbur. And thank you to your team at UCLA for coordinating this presentation. Thank you to Mount SAC, our administration and colleagues for your continuous support to provide an excellent educational opportunity for all our learners. And thank you to our students. We would not be here if it weren't for you. So here we have our counseling team, and we have the honor of presenting 1 year ago. We presented on practical strategies for engaging students with intellectual disabilities and autism in an emerging online higher education environment. Remote learning brought a plethora of uncertainties, but it also created opportunities for educators to learn, adapt, change, and grow in order to better serve our students. Here is our team contact. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Today's objectives, you will learn more about what impact is and what we offer to our students. You will also learn how Mount SAC's counseling services and academic support contribute to a stimulating learning environment that encourages student engagement. Dr. Laura will explain the importance of a comprehensive student educational plan and how this leads to a student's overall academic success. We will also be highlighting a couple of case studies which have taken place during this online learning period. Our program serves students through the School of Continuing Education. We are counselors for both the Vocational Reentry Program and Impact. In the Vocational Reentry Program, we focus on employment, credit, transition to credit courses, obtaining certificates. If the student wants to volunteer, volunteering. These courses are at no cost to our students, and they are non-credit courses. Our Impact program develops a person-centered educational and vocational plan by assessing their interests, needs, and capabilities. We're usually on campus and in the community, but we are currently online. Anyone over the age of 18 can enroll, and we help our students prepare for credit courses or certificate attainment. We connect our students to support services and programs. And again, this is a non-credit course at no cost to the students. Here we have our 6 certificates that we have available to our students, 4 of them focusing on computer skills, and we have 1 focusing on sewing and tailoring, and 1 on micro enterprise. So what is Impact? Impact provides education for adults with intellectual disabilities and other developmental disabilities and/or autism spectrum disorder. It is a curriculum aimed to prepare students for employment, participating in college life, and becoming more independent. The college campus and surrounding community resources provide a rich environment for instruction and skill development. The program enables students with intellectual disabilities, developmental disabilities, to attend college and maximize their potential for integration in the community. And here we have the acronym for IMPACT: independent living skills, mobility training, physical health and safety, advocacy for self, college, career and job readiness, and technology training. So our instructors have expert knowledge to teach the following courses, and lifelong learning courses for the special needs population provide an educational curriculum for students with special needs, emphasizing physical, cognitive, social, and emotional skill development. As counselors, these are almost all of the services that we provide, from educational planning, addressing problems and concerns, whether they are personal or academic, applying to credit courses, and preparing our students for a career. I will be focusing on mental health support and academic supports. In the mental health support area, students are referred by our instructors, so we work collaboratively with our team. The counselor will then assess for appropriate mental health interventions, whether they are brief counseling supports, crisis intervention, where we would stabilize and refer the student to a program or service. We provide follow-up services as well as COVID relief resources. We link the student to mental health support, such as the behavioral wellness program, regional center support programs, mental health therapists. And in the academic area, we provide continued guidance and support with accessing their online learning platform, their email, Office 365. We connect the students to technology. We refer students to appropriate academic support, such as AIM, tutoring, workshop, other campus programs. We refer them to Access, and our colleagues will be sharing what types of services Access and the Puzzle Project provide. We provide continuous support and follow-up with our students, and we also provide our students with an orientation, which has been pivotal now that we've transitioned over to online learning. And we also provide an educational plan for them, which Dr. Laura will be sharing more of.
Thank you, Jasmine, for your presentation. As we can see, we have lots of services at Mount SAC that we try to be knowledgeable about so we can refer our students as appropriately as possible. So hello, everybody. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us today. I want to first thank Mount SAC for being a pioneer in student success and equity initiatives. I also want to thank UCLA for really coordinating this presentation. And lastly, I also want to thank my colleagues for the excellent teamwork and the collective vision for our students' success. I am privileged to be here presenting with all of you today. And let me begin with the importance of basically also providing systems that help students succeed in completing their educational goals. One of the ways that we assist our students maintain that engagement and that focus is through our new student orientation. And this new student orientation basically has 3 essential tasks to it. The first one is program orientation, as I believe it was my colleague Naomi mentioned earlier, we provide ongoing program orientation sessions to the community as well as any new student. So we encourage that they all attend a new program orientation where we can connect with them and set up a time where we then follow up with an educational plan, developing it, talking about what their goals are, what their aspirations are, developing that plan in accordance with their strengths and their, goals. What is it that they want to do? The other thing we do is we continuously follow up and support our students. I think that that is one of the key areas that we focus on in the School of Continuing Education Impact Program, because our students really need to have someone who they connect with to be able to reach out to if they need assistance. Many times what happens to our students is that they transition to the credit side and unfortunately sometimes get lost because of the immensity of the campus and all of the systems in place. So it's important for students to have that continuous follow-up and support to maintain that engagement and commitment. Additionally, where did this, I guess, system come from where we orient our students and provide the educational plan? Well, basically what was happening was the California Community Colleges system recognized that each year, on average, 72% of California community college students are basically lost between the college application process and the enrollment process. So in order to assist students with continuing that process and to reduce the numbers and ensure equity, the California Community Colleges system designed what we call pathways. All community colleges were tasked with developing their pathways and branding them however they chose to brand them. This is the California Community Colleges design. Basically, they encourage all our pathways to be modeled in this manner because the model really creates a highly structured approach to student success. It also provides a set of clear course taking patterns. That way students don't, waste time taking classes that they don't need. And it also provides, integrates students and academic support services. As you have noticed, from academic to all the counseling services that we provide, we really do collaborate with our faculty to make sure that our student supports are focused on not just the academics, but also on everything else that they need to deal with in life. So this model really is basically 4 pillars to guided pathways to help students get to that end goal of either transferring to a 4-year college, getting an associate's degree, getting a certificate, or whatever their path may be. So these pillars really are to clarify the path, enter the path, stay on the path as we all want them to, and to ensure learning. Mount SAC went ahead and branded their own path, which we call GPS. GPS basically stands for Guided Pathways to Success. And we took the 4 elements that the community college, California Community Colleges modeled for us, and we developed our own 4 elements well, we didn't develop them, right? They were already developed for us. We just changed the last one to indicate support learning, because at Mount SAC, one of the things that I'm really proud of is on both the credit and non-credit side, I see the tremendous amount of support services that are continuously being developed to support all of our student population. So having this guide then now provides us with a structure or a model of how to assist our students. Not that we didn't know how to do it before, but as many of you can recall, maybe in your experience at a college system, not Mount SAC, maybe others, just kidding. But I went to a community college, and unfortunately, my experience of being supported and guided through completing my goals was this simple. I met with the counselor. She gave me a list of courses I needed to take in order to transfer to a 4-year university. She patted me on the back, said, "Good luck, bye." That was the extent of my pathway, my ability to complete my goals at this community college. So because I believe we are now using this model and really focused on helping our students succeed, we basically provide students with an educational plan. And like I mentioned before, these have been around for many years, and I'm sure that we all can relate to them, but it wasn't the structure that we have now. Now, student educational plans are really student driven. They're no longer based on maybe what the counselor's perception might be or recommendations. It's really based on what the student wants. What is their goal? What are their interests? It's a plan that is developed alongside a college counselor. And I think this is where we as college counselors, I'm sure there's many colleagues out there, is our opportunity to really demonstrate to our students that we're here to help them succeed. We want them to be engaged. We want them to be focused. We want them to succeed because, as Briseida said earlier, their success is our success, right? So we want to be able to provide an educational plan that lays out courses for that particular student. What courses do they need to take? What courses are offered at a particular term or semester? Because not all classes are offered all year long, right? So being able to help that student lay out that course plan. All students benefit from creating a SEP. Community colleges have a diverse student body that I think is in need of having a support system that allows them to map out what they want and having a support system that allows them to get to that goal. So we want to make sure that whoever comes to Mount SAC or a community college develops those goals and then accomplishes them, correct? So an educational plan is really a simple tool that we use to help students develop their plan. And it also helps generate conversations about education, careers, goals, lots of information that we can get from students when we're developing that educational goal. This also allows us as counselors to connect with them and help guide them. Many times, this might be the first time that students are really talking to somebody about what their goals are, what their educational goals are, what their dreams are. Maybe this has not been something that they have discussed with anybody else. So it's really important that we educate our students on the importance of a student educational plan and share with them the importance of this process, because this process really is set up to save time and money That way students are not wasting their precious time and money taking courses that they don't need. It also helps students keep on track with their educational plan, as well as focused in what it is that they want to do, and focused and engaged in the college experience, right? Right now we're online, but I believe that we have done an excellent job really engaging our students on the online platform as you know, a community college that is online. Like we were challenged with being online, our students were challenged with being online, and we have been able to do it, which then allows us to spend time talking about things like educational plans, right? So it keeps students focused and on track. It also helps students keep in mind that eligibility for some of these programs is dependent on their school success, right? Like financial aid, you have to have a certain GPA to continue receiving financial aid. And lastly, plan. It is really important that this process, that they understand that this process is so they can have a course sequence that is best suited for them, not a course sequence that is general and can serve anybody and then have no guidance. So we want to be able to develop that course sequence and balance their semesters, right? Have a semester where they don't have heavy load, where maybe other semesters they're heavier loads but some fun classes, you know, you can basically balance their semesters accordingly. So student educational plans, this is our sample of our non-credit student educational plan that we currently use at Mount SAC. So we encourage all our students to develop an educational plan regardless of what their goals are. As I mentioned, we have a couple of case studies that we want to go over. I'm not really sure how much time we have, but I'll start with our first case study. Andrew. Andrew is a young man in his early 20s with mild intellectual disability. He's very motivated to attend college. Prior to being online, he began attending our on-campus impact courses. And he was super excited because it was the college experience that he was looking for. Once we went online, he was a little bit hesitant because he really likes the in-person classes, but he was resilient and motivated to continue attending college and remained taking online classes throughout the last year. His motivation basically to attend college is to become a civil engineer. He also is a very focused and determined individual who, after we completed a preliminary educational plan, he basically began to think about how difficult some of the math classes would be, and he decided that maybe it would be better for him to identify a different career path. And therefore, we were able to enroll him in a career exploration course that Mrs. Briseida will be teaching this summer for our impact students. Andrew also went ahead and enrolled in the puzzle project for the fall 2021. And he is also joining on-campus peer groups. Well, they're not on campus, we're online, but they're on-campus peer support groups and clubs that he's really interested in joining. So ultimately his goal is to become a civil engineer, although I believe that we're gonna have to revise his educational plan once he completes Miss B's class. And basically, The goal for him in the impact program is to transition to the credit side to pursue whatever degree it is that he chooses, right? So I'm not sure if we have any more time. We do have 2 more case studies. Will, do we have time to go over one? Yeah.
Yes.
Jasmine, do you want to go ahead?
Susan thinks that we can go ahead and do the other 2 that we have remaining.
Oh, okay, awesome. So Jasmine will go ahead and share Sandra's educational plan and her story.
Sandra is a 24-year-old young woman with mild intellectual disability. She's of Latino descent. She was very nervous to begin college as her previous college experience left her overwhelmed and uncertain on about whether or not she should continue her college career because of her various needs that she had when it came to learning, and the teachers understanding her or the college counselor guiding her. She said she felt lost, and so she came to us last fall. Sandra shared that her goal was to obtain computer certificates so that she can eventually work in an office setting. And so she wants to add the computer certificates to her resume. Well, this spring, she will have earned her Computer 1 certificate, and she looks forward to earning a Computer Level 2 certificate. So a wonderful success story. And it also came down to letting her know the background and knowledge that our instructors have, the training, and connecting her with access as well, so that she felt supported not only in our program, but by the other programs within our college. And we worked collaboratively as a team for her.
Thank you, Jasmine. So another clear example of the importance of an educational plan, it really helps students stay on track and stay focused and stay engaged. You know, without an educational plan, I feel like we lose them. They end up not knowing where to go. So our last case study is Paul, and Paul is an older adult student. Prior to 2018, Paul actually lived independently with some supervision. He had a caregiver that would check in on him in the mornings and in the evenings, but overall, he was fairly independent. He worked at a grocery store and pretty much managed his personal schedule. He loves bowling, so he does a lot of bowling. But for Paul, he's not wanting to go back to work. That's not his goal anymore. His goal is really just to maintain his independence and to maintain a healthy quality of life by improving his reading skills and engaging in physical exercises. We also have cognitive exercise classes, sort of brain health classes that I've encouraged him to attend, but he doesn't really like computer games, so he'd rather not do a class like that. And when I speak with my students and we begin to talk about an educational plan, these are the kinds of things that we begin to learn about them, right? What kinds of things they like, what kinds of things they don't like. So that way we can develop a comprehensive educational plan that is geared towards that individual, not geared towards students in general, right? So his educational plan is basically to continue taking our lifelong learning courses to maintain independence, lifelong learning, and quality of life. So, and the educational plan, again, keeps Paul focused and engaged in our courses with the counselor, him and his caregiver, now he has a caregiver that assists him, will regularly reach out to myself, the counselor, and ask questions about different things. So it really keeps them connected. And most importantly, I think the last point that I want to make is the importance of being a counselor who doesn't just hand a student a piece of paper and a pat on the back. It is important, critical, that we engage the students and that we continue to support them so they know that we are here to help them succeed. Thank you so much for being here. And if you have any questions, comments, feedback, we are open for that.
Great, thank you so much, Dr. Espinosa and Yasmin. I will now introduce the fourth and final segment. We have been, I would say the team has been rather efficient at responding to questions in the Q&A. Keep in mind, if you have questions, please feel free to either use the chat or please feel free to enter your questions into the Q&A. And now let me introduce the final team for their segment. Heather Ponce is a speech language pathologist and a professor at Mount SAC. She works with students with autism spectrum disorder and acquired brain injury in the Access Department. Jacqueline Dunlap currently works as the Puzzle Project Assistant at Monk San Antonio College and provides administrative assistance for instructors and peer mentors. She is currently attending Cal State Fullerton and is pursuing a bachelor's degree in communicative disorders. Her career goal is to become a speech pathologist and continue supporting students with autism. And last but not least, Elizabeth Hernandez earned a master's degree in education and serves as professor of counseling. And now, without further ado, here are Heather, Jacqueline, and Elizabeth.
Thank you, Wilbert. So I want to welcome everyone to this last segment. Thank you for hanging on tight. So this is, we're going to be presenting on Puzzle Project, which is a program that serves students with autism spectrum disorder. Here you'll see a picture of our end of the year celebration from last year. So this was taken June 2020, and the instructors are all at the first row, and we spelled out, this is what we like about Mount SAC Puzzle Project. And then the students and the peer mentors are rows 2 to 5, and they each either drew or wrote what it is that they liked about our program. So this was our way to do our virtual group picture. And then to continue with our roles and what we each do. So again, my name is Elizabeth. I go by Liz Hernandez. I am an Access counselor and a Puzzle Project instructor. So as an Access counselor, I do provide academic, vocational, and disability-related counseling to all of our students. And I also prescribe reasonable classroom and testing accommodations. In my role in Puzzle Project, I am a co-instructor, and I provide assistance to students and peer mentors for the skills required to reach their academic goal. I would also like to introduce my colleague, Dr. Diana Chow, who is a licensed psychologist. She wasn't able to be here today, but she plays a big role in our program by providing personal counseling for Puzzle Project students as needed, and behavioral consultation to the instructors and the peer mentors as well.
And thanks, everybody. My name is Heather Ponce, and I was already introduced. I am a speech language pathologist. And in Puzzle Project, I am a co-instructor. And what I primarily do is work on the social goals of the students enrolled in Puzzle. And with that, it's very inclusive of everything that would be speech, language, communication. It's very broad, and we do focus more on social skills and engagement in that regard. And we work with our students to reach those goals. I also want to introduce someone who's not here, Dr. Anna Sanchez. She's an occupational therapist who works with us as well. So you can see we're very much a team approach for Puzzle Project. She works with all of our students in Puzzle as well as does some of the work for some of the time management and some of the mental health needs for our students.
Okie dokie. And then that is me. My name is Jacqueline Dunlap. I'm currently studying to be a speech language pathologist, currently studying for my undergrad, my bachelor's degree at Cal State Fullerton. And as it relates to Puzzle, I am the Puzzle project assistant. So I provide administrative assistance and instructional support to our instructors. I also train and recruit our peer mentors and also just provide referrals and recommendations to peer mentors and students as needed.
So moving on into a little bit of like the foundation of our program. So we are based on the peers model through UCLA by Dr. Lawson. All of the instructors are peer certified. So Diana, myself, and Liz were certified in adolescent, young adult, and mental health, respectively. And so within it, we address social skills, executive functioning, and I'm sure you know what that is. It's also part of our mission statement. We'll get to in a moment, as well as the educational skills and goals of our students.
And these are some photographs of what Puzzle Project looked like before March 2020. So the first picture is a picture of our lecture component, which is taught, like a regular classroom where we have the instructor record up at the front, and then the students are taking notes. And a lot of times we provide handouts for them so that they can just fill in some of the words and be able to pay attention and focus to the actual lecture. The other picture is demonstrating our behavior rehearsal, which is our students, our student interaction with each other and also with the peer mentors. We do have our weekly mentor meetings every Friday, as well as our case management. And then like Heather mentioned, our lectures do come from the peers model by Dr. Elizabeth Loxton from UCLA.
All right, so then COVID hit and everything had to change. So we pivoted like everyone else did, and we started doing our workshops synchronously. So beginning at the end of fall of 2020, we started using Canvas, and we will show you some of the pictures of that. We're doing work with Canvas and modules for each of our weeks. We also started doing homework on Canvas instead of in person. And we also, if you can see here, some of the pictures from the end of the semester, we had one of our students lead a workout boot camp for us, and he's amazing. And he's also graduating. We, instead of doing fill-in work in the classroom, we started doing fill-in from our modules, and we would share the screen, and we would do fill-in together that way. We also had students share things like video games they were interested to make it so we had that social component. So constantly thinking about different ways that we were engaging with our students.
Heather, you are sharing great information, but we can hardly hear you.
Can you not hear me very well?
Yeah, if you can get closer to the mic.
I will get closer to the mic. I'm sorry.
Lovely, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so just going back, so we were sharing in different ways and working synchronously with our students on Zoom. So we meet with our students 3.5 hours a week. We continue to do that with our students. That was also including the peer mentoring that we do with our students that we'll get to in a moment. But all of that continued. It just was a virtual component.
This is our puzzle project overviews. This is our mission. So our mission is to improve the social language, the social interaction, and the executive functioning of our students, which includes the initiating, the planning, the organizing, the execution of their assignments, their homework, their projects, anything that's going to help them achieve their academic and their social goals. And our puzzle project concept. So we are a series of 14 workshops that occur in the fall and in the spring semesters, and we meet every Friday. And again, the concept is that we're seeking to help motivated young adults with autism. And again, the focus is to help with their academic and social skill preparation. So in the beginning of the semester, when we do our intakes with students to see who will be a good candidate for the program, we not only ask about their time commitment each week, but we also ask for their motivation. How motivated are they to be in the program? Because it is about 3.5 hours a week each week. And we also ask, what is something that you would like to work on? What is something that you would like to improve? Sometimes for their academic goal, they'll say, you know what, I'm on probation. and I want to improve my GPA. Okay, we'll work on that together. For their social goal, they might say, you know what, I want to improve my initiation of conversations, or I want to be able to successfully enter and exit a group conversation. So we really, it is a very individualized process with each student to make sure that we are meeting their needs, as well as helping them improve their academic and social skills.
And our peer mentors. So actually I began as a peer mentor in 2019 and then became my position now. But our peer mentors are recruited, they're Mount SAC students recruited from either the honors program or the psych and soc departments. And they tend to have 3.0 to 3.5 GPAs. We try to choose higher GPAs as they are role models for our students. They're academic and social role models. They come from a similar age group, around 18 to 25. And they meet with our students twice per week to cover puzzle homework, which reinforces skills taught in a particular workshop, as well as do behavioral rehearsal of a skill, which may include practicing, for example, humor or practicing conflict management. And we also connect them to resources depending on the needs of the particular student. So whether it be academic tutoring with ASAC or ATC, or whether it be connecting to OT or behavioral health, our peer mentors connect our students and essentially are professional middlemen. And they're also receiving training both before and during the semester. So we do a training day prior to the start of the semester where they're trained on autism and just general peer mentor procedure. And they additionally experience training throughout the semester during case management, in which they meet and discuss their student and the needs of their student with their instructors.
So this is what our typical puzzle project Friday schedule looks like. We begin with the case management. So the peer mentor schedule right now, we're on Zoom. So from 9:30 to 10:30, we have our mentor meetings, and this is the time where we, Heather and I, we split the two groups. So there's about 12 to 15 mentors every semester, and Heather and I split the group. So we each break up into, right now during Zoom, breakout rooms, and this is where we really talk about what's going on with the student. We troubleshoot any problems. We make referrals to campus departments, or we schedule counseling appointments. So we really go around with each student and figure out what's going on, whether it's positive or negative. And then after that, we do have our students schedule, so they begin at 11 a.m. On Zoom, and the first 15 minutes are usually our homework review. And then the bulk of the lecture from the Pearce model is from about 45 minutes to 50 minutes, where we go into the actual discussion. We do the mentor role playing, we generate the discussion from students, we use reactions. We try to make it as interactive as possible, including breaks. We have taken breaks where we get up and stretch when we notice some low energy. And then the last 30 minutes, we do the behavioral rehearsal and homework discussion or any announcements for the following week. And this schedule also applies when we were in person. It's the same time frame as well.
All right, so Canvas. So like some of our other colleagues mentioned, we also use Canvas, and COVID was a great way. It pushed us, you still can't hear me very well. It pushed us in the regards of setting up and developing our Canvas even more so. So we're using assignments, we're using announcements, quizzes, discussion boards. We're using it all, and it's helping organize the students and really prepare them. If they're only taking like one academic class, we're showing them, how do you use your calendar? How do you use your to-do list? And it's all inclusive of, we work with them, we show it with them, and we have their mentors work with them on that. So as you can see here, we actually have we do the full semester of Mount SAC. So we're doing each lecture has a module. So you'll see, like, for example, week 2, we're doing mental health, and Diana and Anna are working on that and doing stress reduction exercises for the students. And then we dive into trading and starting conversations, and we're working with our peers book, and it really guides our lecture formats from there on out. And then at the end of the semester, we do an end of the year celebration where we give all of our students certificates, and we acknowledge all the hard work they put into it. So yes, Puzzle Project is there for extra support for them, but it's also paying off in better grades, meeting their academic and social goals, and everything that they've worked toward, and then they can continue with the other parts of our program as well. This is just more from Canvas, and it goes through some of our assignments and some of our other.
So this is what Puzzle Project looks like in terms of the components. We have three. The first one is students will begin in the Puzzle Project component where they attend the workshops every Friday in the morning. They receive peer mentoring twice a week, and this usually lasts about one semester, fall or spring. We have a small percentage of students that do repeat Puzzle Project if we notice that maybe they didn't participate as much and we feel that they can benefit from one more semester. Once students finish Puzzle Project, they move on to transitional. So this would be the component where they no longer attend the workshops on Fridays, but they still receive peer mentoring once a week. And it usually lasts one semester as well, either fall or spring. And then our newest component is our puzzle pieces. So with this component, students no longer attend workshops every week, but they do attend workshops once a month. And the topic changes every month. We've talked about job readiness, independent skills, adult skills, acceptance and identity with regards to their autism. And we've even had guest speakers where it's a student in, the last 2 semesters, we've had a student that is at Cal Poly Pomona with autism, and he comes virtually and talks about what it was like for him transitioning at the university and just his life in general, what it's like, living with autism. And he's been a great role model for our students. So depending on what the need is, we'll bring in, we'll talk about that topic for that month. So these are the 3 components. Typically, students will be with us for about a year or a year and a half. And then that leaves us room to bring in new students as well.
The interview toolkit. So the interview toolkit was one of the workshops that we did in addition to our regular workshops. So this is where actually it was myself, Anna, and I think actually all of us here participate in it, and we help students with the interview process, resume building, looking for jobs or volunteer experience, but also actually rehearsing and the behavioral rehearsal of mock interviews. So this really helps our students who were thinking about getting a job, who've never had a job before, or who have had a job and coming and talking about that experience as they work toward their more career goals. So this was one of our standout workshops that was, it involved our team, but it wasn't actually a puzzle project workshop itself. And we actually last semester, we did this with one of the business professors from Mount SAC, and he helped with thinking about budgeting and living in your city and like making sure that your income will match where you want to live. And we thought it was really helpful for our
and acceptance and identity. So you probably noticed a lot of these workshops are doing things for our students because of their autism, but this is a workshop for their autism. So this is a workshop that's designed to help students conceptualize what autism means in relation to them. So as Liz mentioned, we have a student from Cal Poly Pomona who was diagnosed with autism. His name is Michael Williams, and he comes each semester for this workshop and talks about his experience with autism. So an activity that we actually do during this, which you'll see with the top left picture, is a mask activity. So we ask them, we want you to put on the front of the mask what you think others perceive about you, whether it be in relation to just you or your autism. And then on the other side of the mask, the inside, we ask them to put the characteristics that they think other people don't know about them. And the purpose was to get them to start to think, what are the things that are about me? What are my characteristics influenced by my autism? And what are the things about me that have nothing to do with my autism that are just me? And it's getting them to start to develop that acceptance about their diagnosis. And Michael also corroborates this with his perspective of how he began to disclose his diagnosis. So how he feels about it, how comfortable is he discussing it with friends and family or professors on campus. And he initiates this conversation for our students and gets them discussing this topic. And it's a really, really important social engagement piece for them. It's a sense of community in the sense that they're working with a bunch of other students who are all asking these questions about their own identity.
This is another workshop that we had this semester virtually, our time management. We all know that students have a comorbidity of other disabilities such as ADHD. So a lot of them struggle with disorganization and executive functioning. So we really try every semester to teach them time management strategies that will work for them. And this is just one workshop that we have so many.
And finally, Instagram. So as Susan mentioned earlier, the need for social engagement for our students isn't going anywhere. And I would say, especially for our population, it's even more essential, especially in the face of COVID. A lot of our students are peer rejected or socially neglected, and therefore they don't have a place to interact as a community. So this is what Puzzle Project on Instagram does. It gives them a place to go where all of them have the same common interests. All of them are having similar experiences in the college format. And thus we post things. So you'll see it left here. We have different events that we post, whether it be student-led events or staff-led events. And then we also just post things in relation to Puzzle Project and autism on a whole. So you'll see our logo here on the top right. This was actually created by one of our students in Puzzle. So the Instagram is not just a place to find out information about Puzzle Project, but a place to feel as though you belong to Puzzle Project.
Thank you for your time, and thank you to my other colleagues at MomSAC for being here today, and to Wilbur for allowing us this virtual space. Here is our contact information, and we also have a Puzzle Project email, which is at the very bottom. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. So I want to thank Briseida, Susan, Naomi, Dr. Espinosa, Yasmin, Heather, Jacqueline, and Elizabeth for these wonderful presentations. I believe we have a new question in the Q&A, if we could address that. So I'll read it. It says, yes, I understand, but the concern I was told was, oh, it seems like this was an ongoing conversation. I was told was regarding negative behavior or abuse that could occur when students work one-on-one with students with ASD-ID, like bad people who might try to abuse their position. Is that something your team has found a way to deal with? Is the question clear? I think this might be a follow-up from a question that Lisa asked previously and that someone responded to.
Yes, so this is Liz. I will go ahead and so this was a question regarding training for the peer mentors and some concerns with the peer mentors being alone one-on-one with the student. So typically when we were on campus and as we plan to go back, the student and the peer mentor, they meet in public places. So a lot of times they meet right in the student services building, right outside of access, in the library, or at the cafe. So somewhere where it is public. We've had discussions with our dean, who everyone is on the same page with regarding the peer mentors being alone with the student, although they've never been physically alone in a space. There's always someone watching. And peer mentors also know when we meet on Fridays, situations have come up where the student with ASD was either disruptive or got up and was angry. It hasn't happened too often, but it has. So in those instances, the peer mentor knows they can speak to me, to Heather, or to Jack, or any of the other puzzle team. They can text us, they can email us, they can call us. And also this is why we have case management every Friday, where we troubleshoot these instances. So we feel that the peer mentors feel supported enough that they can come to us whenever this does come up.
Great, Lisa, did that answer your question? Okay, great, thank you. Again, I think I see a couple of additional questions. I want to thank everyone for their participation today. I'm willing to stick around, and to the extent that the team can, we'll continue to answer questions, but I know that time is precious, and maybe some of you have appointments, so if you have to leave, I totally understand. So I'll raise the next question, which is there an age requirement for the program?
You can hear me. So for Puzzle Project, you need to be a credit college student. So we have had students that are 17 and their parents will sign releases for them to be like photographed or different things like that. But for the most part, the students are 18 and over. They actually sign releases so we can communicate with their parents regarding their progress in the program, or if we have any issues with the student, like what Liz was addressing.
Great, thank you so much. My colleague, Dr. Catherine Hayward, has been inserting a link into the chat feature. If you could please click on that link and complete a brief evaluation of today's webinar, that would be very useful. We'd appreciate that. Okay, we're sticking around for additional questions if you have any. Again, thank you so much for the wonderful presentation from our colleagues at Mount SAC. Thank you for sharing from the wealth of your knowledge with the California community colleges. Oh, someone's saying they don't see the link. Dr. Hayward, can you drop the link to the evaluation in the chat one more time? Oh, and please send it to panelists and attendees. There we go. Okay, Lisa, I saw that we answered your question completely. Are there any additional questions as we wrap up?
There was one in the chat about assessment for intake. And I just want to say for Puzzle, we do a formal hour intake with our students. And we may, it depends on the student, we may include their family in the intake process. It's like an interview. And we do have to confirm and verify their diagnosis ASD. So that is part of the formal. So we're looking through their access records because we're all access employees. So we look through confidential records. And we might pull up IEPs or psychoeducational reports for such information.
Thank you. Again, thank you to Briseida, to Susan, Naomi, Dr. Espinosa, Yasmin, Heather, Jacqueline, and Elizabeth for the wonderful presentation today. Thank you so much.
Thank you to the team. Thank you, Wilbert. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilbert, for arranging and coordinating.
Of course. Just looking for additional questions as people might pull them together or are stepping away and saying goodbye. Great. Okay, I see none. People are saying their thank yous. Thank you very much for everything.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.